Hello everybody and welcome back to yet another video and to the second episode of the Cars Adventures Rewatch podcast where Robin Tailsfighter and I go back through all of Cars Adventures and we rewatch each season and then we talk about them. Season 1 was an absolute pain. Robin, was Season 2 any easier for you to get through?
Can I just say the word not falling asleep? The words not falling asleep are a good description.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. This season is definitely better. I think anything's better than the first season. Quite frankly,
Overall, it's a bit better, but on an individual basis, some of these episodes, the best episode of this, I believe, is worse than the best of the last season.
yeah. And the problem, well, the funny thing is, the best episode of the last season was just the minute and a half long. We both agreed the minute and a half long final episode was the best. But to me, the problem with this season is like, I didn't know you could make something that was only 5 minutes long feel like 5 hours. But I will say, all around, I think quality was just the slightest bit better. But you're not going to see a vast improvement because this season started literally 2 days after the last one ended. So,
yeah, and it started out pretty. In a way, it started out where the last season left off, as in a lot of the early episodes are pretty random.
yeah, the way the last season ends with Chick Hicks picking up Cruz, and it it isn't relevant until halfway through the season, and I don't mind that. I don't mind the fact that not every single season needs to be fully about how the last one ended. I quite like that this focuses on other stuff, and then the Cruz stuff becomes more important later. I just thought I should address that as that is how the last season ended, but we will get into our full thoughts a bit later. For those of you who didn't watch the first episode, the way this is formatted is we go through each episode one by one, we talk about them a bit, then afterwards we do our top 3 favorite episodes, then we give a brief consensus on the whole season, and this season starts with Cars Adventures Season 2, Episode 1, What If, dot 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 dot.
Bunch of dots.
I just want to bring up the fact that I did not know how to title episodes for another season. Now I have season number, then episode number, which is what you could see me start to do as this season goes on. So, What If is, if you couldn't already guess, a what if story about what if lightning, what was it? What if lightning doesn't end up in Radiator Springs?
Yeah, that was it.
I just wanted to bring up the fact that it starts with him talking to Mac, and it's just funny that both seasons start with a shot of McQueen at the back of Mac.
Yep.
But I mean, this episode takes an interesting concept, and a few years ago, after the Disney Plus Marvel What If show came out, Robin was working on a series called Cars What If, where he and some other people, including me, would take different concepts, different scenes in the Cars series, and say, like, oh, well, what if this happened instead? And I think there's a lot to play around with in the Cars series, especially what if lightning never ended up in Radiator Springs. I think that was one of your episodes, right?
That was one of the episodes. I don't remember
I don't
which
know
one it was,
that
but I
was
remember that was one of them. I remember the one that you made was really good.
The one I made was what if Doc never crashed. I still have that saved because Robin and I have talked in the past about potentially reviving that series for my channel. And if we ever do that, then yeah, I got to do something stronger than what this episode was, because Lightning, it ends before it can get good. Lightning gets the Dynaco sponsorship. That's all.
Can I just get my thoughts about it? So
Yeah,
first
go
of all,
for it.
The episode felt kind of random inclusion.
Yeah.
It was there were the references and jokes were just like so obvious. It was not even funny. Like, for example, McQueen literally tells Mac to drive with his eyes wide open. And then the tuners drive by and he's like, "Oh, this guy looks awake." And the way that Lightning, and this is as if Lightning saw the first movie and told himself not to keep Mac awake the entire time or something.
Well, it was in universe a dream McQueen had But yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
just not funny.
but still,
It's
it
so
could have
weak.
been done way better. The one with the only sort of funny part of it was it wasn't really funny, but the only thing that I think actually fit in was the thing with the Peterbilt Mac thing, because that was like a reference. I thought that was worth
The
putting in there,
tuners
but that's
go
like the
like,
only good part of it.
the tuners go, hey, let's bother that Peterbilt over there instead. Yeah,
They get annoyed when you call them a Mac truck.
so yeah, I'm not. This one is such an interesting concept. So McQueen ends up to the racetrack early. He does practice laps, and Tex is like, "I'm just gonna give you the sponsorship," and McQueen's like, "Well, thanks." And then he gets the Dynaco sponsorship, and then it ends.
Yeah,
That's all.
the King's Crash also takes place,
Yeah,
and
that's it. It just ends. I could have done so much interesting stuff with. Oh wow, well, what would have happened if Lightning had the Dynaco sponsorship? Because the point was here, Lightning doesn't learn his lesson. But whatever. If you thought that was a strange, out of place episode to start the season, season 2, episode 2, Radiator Springs commercials, which doesn't have a dash between the numbers because I guess I didn't know how to do it yet, so it just looks like Cars Adventures 2-2. Radiator Springs commercials is also, in my opinion, a pretty weak one. The first of many commercial specials, which were quite popular when the series was starting out. Lightning and Mater get bored and decide to watch some TV, and they just watch some commercials for the Radiator Springs buildings that are almost all done in one take, back to back to back, so it completely ruins the immersion of them watching commercials.
yeah, that is my main complaint about this episode, is that it's just almost all of it is in one take, and also, why would it all be the Townies commercials at the
I
same
was thinking
time?
that. I was thinking that. What are I assume they're watching like a local station, but what are the odds that they just find commercials for their town back to back to back? This is like a super nitpick, but there's one part at the end of Fillmore's commercial where he like tells the cameraman, where the cameraman says they've stopped rolling. Then why are we still seeing it? I thought we were watching commercials.
Yeah, that's also. Eh.
They're just.
And yeah, it also what TV, because nowadays if they watch TV, you do it inside Mater's hut, like the TV is out of sight in Mater's hut, but there it was basically supposed to be under the sign or something, and it was just not visible.
I think they were supposed to be looking into Mater's hut, and there just wasn't space. I guess.
Oh, and then in the background of one of the commercials, you even see them standing in Mater's junkyard
Exactly,
while watching commercials.
because it was all in one take, and it's just that classic old Cars Adventures brand of not funny. It's a concept like the commercial episodes now are some of my favorite ones to make. The Super Bowl commercial episode from a few years ago, I think, is one of the funniest episodes I've ever done. I didn't do anything funny with the inherently funny concept of they're watching commercials. But whatever.
But let's say that both of these first two episodes are once again an example of, same as season 1, as interesting concepts but terrible execution.
And there are later commercial specials that do it much better.
Even in this season.
Episodes, yeah, there's another one later in this season. Episodes 2 and 3 are Sarge's Off-Road Challenge and Off-Road Race.
And you can see with the first three episodes the evolution of you naming your season, with the first one being in the same style as season 1.
Yeah.
And the second one being 2, and the second one starts with the dash.
Yeah, but nowadays there's a dash between, in every other season there's a dash between adventures and the numbers. That's not a thing here. I think I usually include other dashes. But yeah, Sarge's Off-Road Challenge and Off-Road Race are just kind of classic season 1 shenanigans of look at the cars doing things that they can do because they are cars. They're outside. And it also has, in my opinion, I guess we should do a plot recap first. Sarge's Off-Road Challenge, McQueen joins Sarge's boot camp, and he goes to the boot camp with the other cars at the boot camp.
Sarge forces him to join the boot camp.
My main problem with this is Sarge is so terribly out of character, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
He's just a jerk.
That was literally... He's not like that. If true army people, sergeants, would not act like that towards their people.
He's
towards
so
their,
mean.
Soldiers.
Like, he literally says, like, oh, you're not allowed to work as a team. And he gives some flimsy, like, flimsy, stupid reasoning. It's like, no, Sarge as a military sergeant would totally value teamwork. He's so out of character. This is not how Sarge should act at all. And in the episode after this, he's so cruel to everyone. He's having them drive down a hill that's called Mount Plot Point, which is a funny name.
Plot Point. Mount Plot. Oh, one of the things that my plot point, for some reason I like that about this episode. You should bring that back into Cars Adventures at some point.
My one problem is it's not really a plot point.
We'll make it one.
I'll make it one when it comes back. So, and then he's just so cruel to them, having them drive down this hill. And then in the next episode, off-road race, Lightning challenges Sarge to an off-road race because he's mad at Sarge or how Sarge is treating things. And they make a deal that Sarge has to shut down his boot camp if Lightning wins, which he does. And it's so dumb because at the very end, Sarge learns a valuable lesson, and one that I think is good for Sarge to learn. He learns to just have a good time sometimes and not be so strict. Okay, fine moral for Sarge to learn.
But yeah.
But then he goes, alright, I've learned that sometimes you just have to have fun. Now I'm going to close my boot camp. No! You don't close the boot camp. You use what you learn to be nicer to the people in it, because you're a jerk in these episodes for some reason.
And this funny thing is, even though there are like two different things of him closing the boot camp. First of all, he loses to Lightning, so he has to close it. Second of all, he decides to close it because he needs to have fun once in a while. And meanwhile, later on in, I believe it's another season, the boot camp returns.
Yeah.
The same cars, except for Lightning.
I don't show the boot camp anymore.
I'm pretty sure instead of Lightning, it's Punchy later on, but we'll get there once in later seasons.
I don't show the boot camp anymore, but I like to think he still runs it. Although it is funny that at this point, these same cars have been at the boot camp for over a decade. Like, do they just never learn anything?
Yeah, the way terrible those, I would say, like, if you have been in this boot camp for over 10 years, you would at least know something. So I'm just going to call it out as another early Cars Adventures flaw.
So, the next episode is The Giant Tree. And this, at the time, I had to use YouTube's, like, auto-generated thumbnails, but this honestly has one of my favorite thumbnails.
And also worth saying is this is the first suggestion episode.
Yes.
That is also called a suggestion episode.
Yeah, so at the time I was actually taking viewer requests for episodes. At this time I was starting to make like my first friends on YouTube, and two of them were users named TylerPlay600 and Intersection00. I don't think any of them are active anymore. I think Intersection might be. But that's beyond the point. But they were some of my first friends on YouTube, and this episode was suggested by Intersection. I don't remember what the suggestion was, but taking suggestion episodes is, in my opinion, one of the worst decisions I ever made, because it allows other people to propel the narrative.
Move the plot?
Yeah. One thing I do like is that each suggestion episode starts with a different character saying it was a suggestion. I like that. I think that's fun.
Yeah, and honestly, the Giant Tree, even though it's a suggestion episode, it's, my opinion at least, not all that bad.
No, this isn't a bad one. This starts this season's own sort of self-contained plot. So the Tuners have that this season, it should be known that the main plot of this is sort of a tuner season. Not a tuner season as you know it now, where it's DJ Boost and Wingo and friends, but it was Kabuto as the Master Tuner. We never learn what Master Tuner means, but here, but he's just the one in charge.
I mean, the name really says it, because Master Tuner is like, he's the boss.
Yeah, so he and his army, which composes of DJ Boost, Wingo, Snotrod, Komodo, and Yokoza, I think that's it, they have a new base, and Fillmore rushes into town explaining, hey, the Tuners told me they have a new base. It should be known that they're not friends with the Tuners. They are very much antagonists at this point in the series. Again, I just got to clear the air for anyone who knows current Cars Adventures. Yeah, so the Tuners have set up this new base, which is a giant tree. And they're going to, if the townies can find it, they're going to give Sally parts to modify her into more of a racer, since Sally is a racer now. So they go to their base, but they get ambushed. They have a bit of a fight because it turns out Kabuto's just really mad at Mater for the events of Tokyo Mater. Add that to the list of this show.
Yeah. Also, one thing worth noting that this season, in several different separate episodes, independently from each other, basically confirms that Mater's tall tales are in a way actually true.
Yeah. Same with
this one confirms Tokyo Mater, which was never actually any confirmed in the series itself, since that was just they're getting wooden modifications. So
yeah, and then Mater the Greater was confirmed early last season, and then later on in this season, Monster Truck Mater is basically confirmed. I don't like that choice, but whatever. It is Kabuto's motivation, and he wants revenge against Mater for having beaten him in a race that was, what, 7... well, no, more than 7 years since the cartoon came out, but probably decades before this episode. So
a long time ago.
Dude knows how to hold a grudge. This one's fine. I think it's okay. I guess we should bring up the fact that Snotrod defects.
I remember that clip of Snotrod defecting is one that is always recognized, because I remember using that clip for the Snotrod compilation, and it was I believe the first one. So
yeah, so he Snotrod sneezes and Fillmore says bless you, and Snotrod literally says like, oh, that was nice, I'm on their side now.
Yeah, it's kind of simple, but it's pretty much the beginning. It begins what we know. It's pretty much the beginning of what we know today, with the tuners being good friends.
Yeah. Throughout this season, you'll see the tuners sort of defect one by one, and Snotrod being the first one.
There's only one other one, which we'll get to later on.
Yeah, but I think it's very fitting that Snotrod is the first to go. So again, I think this is a solid episode. One that maybe holds up a little still. All right, do you want to explain McQueen and Frank? It was a suggestion from another person.
Yeah, I'll get into it. So this episode, it was a suggestion where somebody said McQueen and Frank. So it's literally this, in my opinion, one of the stupidest plots ever.
Okay.
So Smokey needs.
Glad I had you describe this one.
Smokey needs some help with the tractors. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but it was something help with tractors. So they decide to transport Frank there.
Right.
And to transport Frank, they immediately get help from Holly and Finn out of nowhere with a huge shipping container. I mean, I'm sure there's an easy way to ship it, but okay.
He's in a giant
plastic. They go to Thomasville. And in Thomasville, Frank escapes, chases Lightning, then later goes on to chase Mater and Smokey. So what Lightning does? Well, Mater and Smokey are being chased. He goes all the way back to Radiator Springs, takes the sign off of Lizzie's shop, goes back
to Ramon.
Thomasville while Mater and Smokey are being chased. I'm sure that Thomasville is on the other side of the United States from Radiator Springs, yeah. So he did like 6,000 miles in an hour.
Right.
Or Mater and Smokey are being chased for several days in a row, so... yeah, they use Lizzie's sign. I don't even remember how they use it, but...
they do.
Yeah, that's pretty much the plot of the episode.
Ramon goes with him, too. I don't know why. My favorite aspect of this episode is the fact that, like, mariachi music plays when they're being chased by Frank, and I don't know why.
Oh, yeah, that, too. But, like, it's... I'm just gonna leave it as... I wouldn't say it's... I'm not sure if I would call it the worst episode of the series, but it's definitely up there as one of the worst Cars Adventures episodes ever, in my opinion.
I think it's fine. I think I have a better opinion of it, but it's not interesting.
It's probably the travel part that makes me kind of
but considering the fact that
travel, how it just makes it. Also, they use Lizzie's sign as a barrier thing.
This is like the third episode where Lizzie's sign is a plot point for some reason. But yeah, this one is... I mean, considering all I was given in the suggestion were just the words McQueen and Frank, I guess, it could have been worse. Speaking of worse, we then get to Season 2, Episode 7, ... Doc, question mark, ... Now, this one has sort of become a meme on my channel. A lot of people joke about it because I brought it up in some stream how it's easily the worst episode, so much so that we always say it's not canon.
It's not canon. We're
Yeah.
just going to keep it in.
It's not canon.
That's the first thing we need to disclose about this episode. It's not canon.
Everyone jokes that it's important just because they know I don't like it. It's not important. It's officially not canon to Cars Adventures, but a ton of people joke about it.
That it's a good episode and is actually important is joking. They're gonna. I'm sure people are now gonna go to the comments claiming like, "Oh no, I'm not joking," but I'm telling you, they're joking.
No, everybody.
Some of them probably didn't even watch the episode, but okay.
People who have, everyone I know who has watched this episode, absolutely despise it. But I'm just putting this warning out for anyone who may read comments of people being like, "Yo, this episode's the best." Everybody is joking because it is probably the worst thing I've ever made. Thank you. This was a request. I'm not going to throw the person who requested it under the bus, even though they're not on YouTube anymore. Someone really wanted me to make an episode where Doc returns, and anyone who ever complained about Palpatine coming back to life in The Rise of Skywalker clearly has not watched Cars Adventures Season 2, Episode 7, because it is...
Palpatine coming back makes at least sense in some way. This just doesn't.
This doesn't. McQueen is in Smokey's garage, and oh wait, before I go into the plot recap, I should say I didn't want to make this episode. I've said this before recently when people joke about it. I didn't want to make this one, but I felt bad if I said no to the episode request, so I made it. It was early October, so it was supposed to sort of be like a Halloween special. That's how I justified it to myself at the time. I did not want to make this, but I felt bad if I didn't, because it was a viewer request. So, the McQueen is in Smokey's garage, and he finds like something that can bring some sort of machine that specifically could bring a Hudson Hornet back to life. Well, conveniently, in the back of Smokey's garage is Doc, who's been here the entire time. He never died. He just thought that the Radiator Springs townies didn't like him, and that he thought he was worthless.
In the last season, we saw Doc die.
Oh yeah! Well, anyway, he thought that the townies didn't like him, so he just went off to Thomasville. He says that he just had a heart attack, or rather an engine attack, and he ended up being fine, but he moved to Thomasville because he thought nobody liked him. So then Lightning's like, "Yo, Doc, I'm gonna use this device to bring you back to life."
That's because Doc says he's now dying or something.
Right.
I don't know.
But like, as Doc points out, that machine brings cars back to life, and Doc is still alive. He's just in poor health. And then Smokey comes in and is like, "Lightning, you weren't supposed to know about this." And then the lights shut off, and it's implied that Lightning killed Doc by using the machine that was supposed to bring him back to life. And then it was never brought up ever again.
Which makes sense. It's not canon.
It is not canon. Now, I will say, later on in the season, it was canon at the time, I guess, but I just ignored it. Later on in the season, we do see a character buy a Hudson Hornet costume, so I like to think that this is some sort of cruel, elaborate prank from Smokey.
Yeah,
which is still terrible. So yeah, this is...
yeah.
This is the worst. This one is so bad. This episode is so bad that we have the Morbius effect. It's so bad that people joke about it being good. So that's where it stands. Now the interesting thing about this episode is originally it was supposed to have a B plot. There was going to be a subplot in this episode, and that is a stupid idea because the episodes are already only 5 minutes. Which is why I gave it its own episode as the next episode, Stunt Tractor.
Okay, can I do the description for this one?
Please do, it's boring.
Yeah, it's just, Maynard has a tractor, and he goes to Guido and Luigi's to give it tires, but they don't find tires, because Maynard thinks the tractor is sad, so he wants to give him tires. But there's no tires in his size, which I'd assume Luigi would at least have some tires for tractors, considering he would probably provide the tires for all of the tractors. But anyway, they think the tractor is sad, so Mater makes him a stunt tractor, and that's pretty much it.
They do stunts, and it is stated that said stunts are against the tractor's will. And it's not very funny.
Tractor slavery. I put it in my notes. Tractor slavery. Also, one thing I think is funny from this episode, at some point the tractor is like thrown off a cliff and screams something like "moo," something like that.
Great.
Okay, moving on.
So, moving on, the next 3 episodes are the dreaded return of Piston Cup episodes, except at the very least, this time they're on my driveway, so it looks vaguely like an actual road. Season 2, Episode 9, The Rookies. Season 2, Episode 10, The Makeshift Ramp. And Season 2, Episode 11, Ride That Race. I'm going to be grouping these together in editing, but compared to the other episodes, the Piston Cup episodes last season, each of these are actually quite different. Episode 9, The Rookies, starts by introducing 2 new rookies. They are the first 2 YouTuber customs in the series. Something that, much like episode requests, I really regret having included, just because everybody started asking to get one, and one of them is Tyler, for Tyler Play 600. One of them is Double O, or as he's referred to in this season, 00, who was the custom for Intersection. These were based off of...
Not Intersection the race, Intersection the race team. He's just named after a race team, but his own sponsor.
Right, something stupid like that. Anyway...
It's because he's named after a YouTuber. What are you gonna do?
Right. These are based off of a book I did for a subscriber special, where I did a Meet the Cars book based off of my YouTube friends. Wow. And, yeah, so they're both racers, and they have really stupid sponsors, because everything is based off of their YouTube username. That's how we got a character in a later season named Dynaco, because Dynaco was in the guy's username. So they're new rookies, and I'm going to be honest, I thought I was really going to dislike them upon rewatch, but I didn't mind them. They're fine. They just sort of exist for a good chunk of this season.
I just want to say another mentioned thing from this episode 9 is that it's the official beginning of the evil next gens. The last time we did have mentions of a club and etc., but now this is the official beginning with Tim, Cruz, and Jackson actually working together.
Yeah, so Cruz and Jackson have teamed up. Apparently, like, Tim bumped into Storm or something. I missed that part of the episode, but they keep talking about it. So they team up by the end, and they all start working together. I will say, Cruz is already very clearly treated as an antagonist, and I wish I
mean, I don't think she would, even though she's hired by Chick Hicks, I don't think she would be an antagonist yet. Like this would have been like a really cool plot over the first few seasons.
Exactly.
Cruz slowly turned into an antagonist until she's the crazy car she's in season 25.
But no. Instead, she's just kind of already evil and cheating and mean and evil and bad. And also...
Yes, Chick Hicks has really bad influence on her.
Well, she was already mad at the end of the last season, but now she's already just kind of evil, you know, and she wants to take down Sally. It's whatever. I just don't like that she's immediately treated as this big bad villain, and Sally already sees her as, like, evil, because realistically, Cruz did nothing to Sally, and Sally did nothing to Cruz. So for Sally to already be mad, like, why are the characters mad at Cruz? That's my big question. I understand they were mad at Cruz for constantly losing to the point where she got fired, but, like, why is Sally mad at Cruz for being back? I don't get it. Then we move into episode 10, the makeshift ramp. This one is stupid.
Can I do this one?
Please do. It's so dumb. We rewatched it on a stream recently, and it's just one of the worst episodes.
Yeah, so basically what they do... First of all, this episode is sort of the beginning of the Good Next Generation organization. In a way, at least, in this case, it's not truly the Good Next Generation, because it's... a couple good next gens, which are the YouTuber next gens, because the YouTuber next gens, you can't really make those evil because and the few stalkers, including Winford and Buck Bearingley being the main ones, they basically start working together against the evil next gens. They're not really called that yet, but
the good next gens aren't called that either yet, but they are starting to be a bit more organized, and the racing is starting to become a bit more violent.
Yeah, and this is in the early days when stalkers actually still participated alongside the good next gens, basically, because later on the stalkers just there. We'll get into that in the later seasons. But yeah, so basically they come up with the idea of making a ramp to jump past Tim, Jackson, and Cruz.
Right.
Which, first of all, they were driving on a track in circles, most likely an oval, I'd assume. So while they're all driving, so there's going to be so they managed to get two cars to form a ramp.
By crashing
And
or
somehow
something.
all of the cars can use that ramp to get in front of Tim, Jackson, and Cruz while they keep driving in the circle of the track. So, like, how would they jump over them if they're on the other side of the track?
I don't know, but the other part, the best part, is the fact that they're like, oh, we need a sacrifice. We need to sacrifice some cars to make this ramp. I thought you were the good guys.
Oh yeah, that is that yeah. And the funny thing is the cars that are sacrificed, they continue on racing because at the beginning of episode 11 we see there's like something going on with them having crashed into Cruz, Jackson, and Tim. So at the beginning of the next episode 11 we see the Evil Next Gen crashed out and the two stalkers who were sacrificed, they get back on their wheels and they continue racing, but the Evil Next Gens are out for the rest of the race.
By far the best part of this episode is that Winford Bradford Rutherford, who was referred to in Meet the Cars as the Professor, says that they need a scientific algorithm. I guess I just didn't know what an algorithm was.
Yeah, that's not how algorithms work.
That's not what an algorithm is.
For some reason, it still fits in with how Cars Adventures was back then. So
because it's stupid.
I think it's fun.
Ride That Race is interesting. Is that even the name of the song in Cars 3? I thought it was Run That Race. I don't know.
Run That Race, I think. But this episode, I'll get into it. It's like I just described the beginning scene. Cars getting back on their wheels and the Evil Next Gens being out.
Well, there's
and
something...
literally, the rest of the episode is just one big montage of cars racing.
Well, it's not a montage. It's just footage sped up to music, which it claims to have been sped up for time.
And you hear the cars driving over the road in the background.
Yeah.
Also, just randomly realized on the background in the thumbnail is actually a car tire.
Yeah, that was my dad's car because we were in my driveway. So this episode's pretty bad. It's hard to follow because I assume because there is a part that's not sped up, like before the intro, right?
Yeah, but I think it was otherwise it would have been too long of an episode.
Yeah, but the problem is I don't. You could see some parts where I'm like wiggling the cars around like I am like they're talking, but we don't know what they're talking about. But yeah, it was sped up to music, which is fine in concept to make it seem like a faster race. You hear the wheels going
over the you actually hear them roll sometimes because they had to roll.
Yeah, but the other, like I don't know. It feels like it clearly wasn't filmed to be sped up, so the camera's just shaky, and I found it really hard to follow without dialogue or other like story aspects. It's just racing sped up.
I would have probably skipped through half of it, but I actually didn't skip through it because I just want to know, is there any part where there's dialogue? And there's none until like very end when there's like something with I don't know who won. Whoever someone wins. I believe it was Tyler who won.
I think it was him. Speaking of him, the next episode is Tyler in Town. And yes, that is a 3 instead of an E, because that's how he spelled his username. So Tyler wants to go to Radiator Springs, I think, to train with Sally, and he ends up there, and he just sort of interacts with the townies for the rest of the episode. And in all honesty, I think this is one of the better ones of the season. I think it's just kind of wholesome. I enjoyed seeing him go from building to building. That's kind of the whole gimmick. That's it.
I think I like this one. I like this one too because first to begin with, there's actually something in here which actually comes back at some point later. Which is it mentions Mater being part of the pit crew as support.
Oh yeah, I used that joke in Cars
4. And that immediately reminded me of Cars 4, the scene where Mater is like, "I'm here for moral support."
Yeah.
Literally what that episode that reminded me of. I know probably not. You didn't even think of that when making Cars 4, but still.
Yeah, I quite enjoy this one.
And the other thing that I like was that it was mentioned that Tyler was it second in the Junior Piston Cup.
Yeah,
and there's also a really nice little reference to like one of the only motorsport references that in the series especially early on, that you actually got right, because in real life there are sort of like not literally junior but a smaller series which are where the drivers first race, and once they're good, if they're good enough there, then they get accepted into the big races. So like
Yeah.
you got that right with how the motorsport works.
But there is a reference to the Junior Piston Cup at one point in the Meet the Cars book, so it was a reference to that. The
Still, you got it's still it's correct.
Yeah.
So good question.
So I like this one, in all honesty. I just think it's kind of fun to just watch him go around. It's one of the more, I think it's one of the more charming earlier episodes. I think it's just sort of fun. Episode 13, Truth or Dare, Double O is there now. Oh, for the record, Tyler announces that he's going to live in Radiator Springs at the end of the episode. And I guess Double O does also, but we don't see him move into town. Tyler and Double O...
Most YouTuber Next Gens ended up living in Radiator Springs for a while.
Yeah. Tyler and Double O then proceed to just sort of become the secondary characters of the series for the next several episodes. They are sort of the most prominently featured side characters. You got Lightning and Mater, then right below that, you have the two of them. They're probably in more episodes than Sally or most of the other townies are. And Truth or Dare is pretty fun. There's Mater vomits at one point, which is represented by...
When that happens, I was laughing for like the rest of the episode because I kept thinking of that little scene. I was like, that was, for some reason, was laughing so much about that.
Yeah, so Mater vomits up yellow Legos. I don't know. I think that's pretty gross. Why were they yellow and not green? Then at the end...
I think that is the best scene of the entire season. Like, I was not really... This episode wasn't really one of my favorites, but that scene is one of my favorite from the entire season.
The thing is, I think this one also suffers from just... There's not... It should have been a bit longer, because he could have done a lot more. They do a few truths, and then the other dare is to make Lizzie think it's Christmas, because at the time I just bought the Christmas cars. So he covers the town in white Legos, which are snow, and Lizzie gets confused. And then I kind of like the fact that, like, every other member of the town sees it and starts getting mad at him.
Yeah, I was like, you should have at least told them that you were doing this for a dare.
Yeah. At the very least...
I thought... And it ends just with this quote being... well, at least it worked for a little bit, and then it just cuts off.
Yeah, it's a problem a lot of episodes have, which I'll get to in my final consensus. A lot of episodes just sort of awkwardly cut off. But this is another one of those episodes where, like, the concept is so fun. I wish I had done more. If this were a few minutes longer, you know? But this is another thing that I'd like to revisit this now. You have endless possibilities with the Truth or Dare plot. Then, I guess, we should cover the next three at once, right?
Yeah.
We have Ghost Hunt, Guess Who's Back, and We Were the Ghost Light. So
Somehow from the third one kind of spoils who the Ghost Light is.
Yeah, do you want to go through
Again,
them?
it was sort of revealed in episode 15, so...
Yeah, do you want to go over each of them?
Yeah, I'll do my best. In episode 14, in the beginning, aren't they like bored or something?
I think so.
It begins with I'm not sure, Lightning talking to, I think it was Red, about magnetic rocks.
Magnetic rocks. Another edition of Look What I Found in My Room. Is this the time that you see, like, that weird, like, flippy thing with the green water in it that you could flip upside down?
That comes in later in the season.
I think
it's
in Mater's junkyard already, though. I still have that in my room. It's actually on my shelf right now. I have no clue where to put it.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. So, pretty sure then, because it's around the time of Halloween, Mater comes up with this idea to go hunting for the ghost lights. So all of the townies and I guess Tyler and Double O were a part of the townies at this point.
Yeah.
As well as Finn and Holly for whatever reason.
Yeah, I did not get why they were there.
Yeah, so they also have this ghost light detector, a ghost detector, which I some point, I'm not sure if it was this episode or the next one, where the ghost detector actually goes off and then they are kidnapped. And I don't think it should be working because it wasn't a ghost that got them.
Right, we learn later. Yeah, so they all go
so,
off hunting together.
Yeah, they all go off, and then at some point Mater has this idea to
split up.
That they should split up. So it's go hunting in small groups. So they split up, and then they get out this episode and maybe the next one as well. They all slowly get taken by someone mysterious who we don't know yet.
Well,
should I just go on? Should I just go on straight with the other two since they're basically one big? Okay, so and then. The next episode, most of the towns have been taken. I believe we see the last ones taken. Lightning, Tyler, and Double O, they are like the only ones that aren't captured yet at some point. So later, then two of them get captured. I believe that Double O is the only one.
Double O doesn't
get captured, and he sees that it are the tuners who use like a light or something. Yeah. Oh wait, and there's also this one thing I want to mention is that they're waiting at a place where. Either Lightning or Double O, one of them says that Mater told us like 15 times to wait here, which was not at all mentioned in the last episode, but okay.
So the tuners were faking being the ghost light. They bought a blue light. I love that the screen just puts a blue filter on it when that shows up. And they also bought an illegal wind machine to act as the ghost light, because sure, why not?
And apparently they've also got cars ready to catch the cars that get blown away by the machine.
Apparently.
Also, shouldn't both the light and ghost light be these huge things that are visible from a distance?
Exactly. But they're not.
Yeah, in the final episode, Double O rescues the rest of the townies. They have a big fight with they have a fight with the other cars, in which it's brought up several times that DJ is not there because
he's back
traveling the world looking for a new tuner.
Just one.
Which also makes
one new tuner.
We get to we end at the okay. We'll get into it later, but who he finds is also like makes no sense. But yeah, Double O rescues them, and Wingo defects.
Wingo says he was doing this against his will. He was just taking orders, and they go, "Oh, I'm sorry, Wingo," and then it just cuts off again.
So yeah, he basically comes with them, and he returns later in the season.
So
this plot, honestly, I do like this plot because it's the first proper guys versus evil guys plot that isn't just a piston cup race spread out over several episodes.
Yeah, the season operates in a lot of sort of 3-episode arcs, but it's nice to return to. I like how you sort of see over the course of the season that the tuner plot ends up becoming the main plot. I like the concept of them defecting one by one. And I also really like the fact that all the townies do this together. I think that's fun, including Mac. Something I really like about this season is Mac is really treated as one of the townies. That's something you don't get in Cars Adventures, even today.
Not a lot. You get it occasionally. And of course the tuners that they I like that part too because nowadays in Cars Adventures we're used to them being good and we get to see how they became good and. The one with Snutter is a little bit deep. It's actually not that bad for the reasons why they defects, I think.
Yeah. But I like the fact that in Wingo's case he was just following orders. He and Snotrod and DJ Moose were obviously not that evil.
He couldn't get any other job, he says. Which funny that kind of reflects in later seasons, so we'll get there.
So the next episode is called Commercials 2. There's just more commercials, except this time for Piston Cup sponsors. It's at least better executed than the first one. There's
a couple of guest episodes from Intersection 00.
Yeah, there's a guest section from Intersection, which is just, I think, a skit video he made, but I just speak over the end of it saying it's a commercial. There are also some weird references to videos made by other channels that I was friends with, which I think is annoying in hindsight.
Yeah. Most of those channels aren't around anymore.
So, Season 2, Episode 18, I just realized it's just called Car Adventure. There's just one car. Kabuto's new plan, I think has...
And we only find it now, 5 years later.
I think Kabuto's new plan... It's also missing an apostrophe at the end of Kabuto. So, I just was messing up all over here. I gotta say, this is probably... one of the worst episodes.
It's a mess.
It's
That's the best way I can describe it.
Look, there are plenty of episodes out there that have a title and thumbnail that does not take up the entire duration of the episode. Oftentimes you'll get one scene, like if it's about a subplot, sometimes you'll get one scene that focuses on the main plot and then the rest is about the subplot. That happens sometimes, not that much anymore, but it used to happen all the time. And it's just part of what helps connect Cars Adventures episodes. I don't really mind if I have to start an episode with a minute-long scene that focuses on one of the other plots for the sake of connective tissue. But this one sucks. This one should not have been called Kabuto's New Plan. Kabuto's New Plan takes up about 30 seconds of the episode, and then the rest is Radiator Springs Traffic Court. And it's not even court, it's just them sitting around taking attendance that everyone in town is there, and then Lizzie is like, somebody stole one of something I'm selling, whatever. And then the joke is, they didn't steal it, they bought it, legally. This one sucks. This one is really bad. Number one, it's just straight up clickbaity. Even the description and thumbnail regard to the Radiator Springs Traffic Court part, and it should have at the very least been called that.
Also, Kabuto's New Plan, and Kabuto doesn't even reveal his plan, just
he
that
doesn't.
It's going to be the season finale.
He literally says, I'll tell you in the season finale, which he doesn't, for the record. He says it before the finale.
It's just, you could take this one out of this, like, the other ones, you could take them out, and, yeah, maybe they wouldn't have much influence either, but this one you could literally, it's literally just forgettable.
And the sad thing is, you could totally take it out. You can watch the season without this one, which is dumb, because it has Kabuto's name in the title, and he's the main villain of the season. Racing Days, episode 19, is just random. The Mario Andretti's in town, and he tells a flashback of a race he was in back in the day with Daryl Cartrip, Claude Scruggs, and Chick Hicks, and it's okay.
It makes it, as a racing fan, it makes no sense. But
right.
That's all I'm gonna say about it.
Exactly. Yeah, like, I could have done a bit more research, but I was just having fun.
I'm just gonna say my notes are literally weird and random. That's all I have for this episode.
And it's just out of place. And once again, I think Tyler and Double O are there. The next episode, Monster Truck Mash, is I think
is relevant to the current season.
Yeah, I think it's one of the better ones in the season, though. In all honesty, the cars in town, Mater, McQueen, Tyler, and Double O, who have just slowly but surely hijacked the series. They're bored, and they just wish, like, excitement could fall out of the sky, which is not a thing people say, but all of a sudden, this monster truck shows up, and his name is Excitement, and he's blue, and, and he recognizes Mater as being the tormentor, and also recognizes Lightning as frightening McMean, which is very quickly glossed over because it makes no sense. If you want to say Monster Truck Mater happened and was not a tall tale, fine, but McQueen being there doesn't make any sense, because it would have to have taken place before he knew McQueen. Thank you. Anyway, the two of them race Excitement, while Tyler and Double O get bored back at home. You might know Excitement as he's returned in the series several times, except he was renamed Extreme. And I love Extreme in current Cars Adventures. He's so over the top, but in this episode, he's just kind of a wimp, and I don't like him.
Yeah, you've definitely made him better later on, but it's a decent episode overall. Yeah.
I like how much happens.
What else to say? The flip thingy.
Oh yeah, the flip thingy shows up in this. Like we were talking about earlier. Mater's just got this weird gizmo.
You should, you know what you should do? You should bring that flip thingy actually back to Cars Adventures next time in Radiator Springs or so.
Just have like background.
Bring it back, because it's I don't know. Yeah. Also, this kind of connects into the next episode, which is Waiting for Lightning, which is literally this Tyler and Double O focused episode where there's a part with a fidget spinner.
It was 2017, thank you. That was also, they cut back to them occasionally in Monster Truck Mash. Yeah, so Monster Truck Mash, I think, is... I like how much happens in it. You don't have to wait until the next episode to see the race, which is nice. You got it all at once.
It's one of the it is quality-wise one of the better episodes of the early seasons.
Yeah. But as you were saying, Waiting for Lightning has Tyler and Double O just kind of messing around, just goofing around while they wait. And this is another one I honestly quite like. It's just kind of fun to see them goof around. And that, like, Double O steals a sign. Tyler
Shiny
pulls a
Wax.
prank
Oh,
on
and
him.
Ramon goes crazy about Shiny Wax for whatever reason,
Right.
and that is never addressed again in the rest of the series.
Tyler, for whatever reason, buys a Hudson Hornet costume and pranks him by pretending to be Doc. So this one is honestly, this one's all right. It's another case where it's barely 3 minutes long. It's 2 minutes and 55 seconds, and I wish we had gotten more because I think it's a fun concept. Just having the two of them be really bored and just wait for something to happen because they weren't invited to the events of the last episode. I think it's clever.
Oh yeah, there's also I believe it's this episode. Hold on.
It's starts with the one of the scenes in the last episode where we see them being left.
Yeah, well, it's was it also this episode or the last episode where they go into the pool and then randomly your Splash Racer's RV shows up? Oh yeah, and this is episode where Double O is repainted into the Hydro Wheels McQueen is repainted into Double O.
Yeah.
It was before Fabulous was a part of the series.
Yeah.
So,
we should also mention
that part was like the most random part, and I thought like that could have easily been left out because it's just weird.
Should also mention that
it's the introduction of the Radiator Springs pool, which returns several times later on in Lab 1.
Yeah, we should also mention that this is the first time Tyler and Double O get repainted, and I like these designs significantly more than their first iterations. It's just subtle changes, but they're quite nice.
These first few YouTuber Next Gens you had, not just these two, but a few others, they constantly got repainted.
Yeah, they got updated a lot. The reason why there's so much blue on Double O is because I did not have red paint at the time. I only had black, blue, white, and later silver and gold, which you'll see in Season 3. The next episode is called The New Guy, and Kabuto and I think Komodo race on this Micro Drifters track, and that's probably the highlight of the episode. It's fun to see that.
And then later, DJ comes back from his worldwide search for a new tuner, and who he shows up with is not even a tuner. It's just Luboy, who screams, "I like popsicles," which returns from the last season.
Right, his classic catchphrase.
Then Boost, who has not been on a worldwide search, but maybe on a little bit of a search for a new car, he shows up and actually has found somebody competent, and it is Superfly.
So they hire Superfly, because he's all souped up too.
I mean, in a way, I think if you consider how your collection was at the time, Superfly kind of makes sense because he looks a little bit like a tuner. I mean, he's probably tuned, so...
Yeah, he's souped up. It's alright. For what I had at the time, i.e. no other tuners, it was perfectly fine.
It made sense.
I wish I'd done more of that Micro Drifters track. The next episode is called Materfied, and they get a letter from Kabuto that it's time for the rematch between Mater and Kabuto. Kabuto wants to race Mater again, and Kabuto says, "Alright, Mater, you need to modify yourself so we'll race again." And for a second I was thinking, wow, it's incredibly stupid for him to tell Mater, hey, upgrade yourself so we could race, because that already gives Mater more of a fighting chance, but I kind of like that Kabuto wouldn't race Mater unless he once again modified himself. Mater comes out.
Yeah, also, he does it. He's together with Wingo and Snotgrout and Guido. He modifies himself together with them.
Mater gets materified, and he gets some upgrades on him that everybody laughs at because they're supposed to look stupid. Although I do remember getting a little upset at the time when people made fun of how the modification looked, even though everyone in the episode makes fun of it. So. Yeah, not the most interesting, but it just sets up the finale.
Also, worth mentioning that it, of course, in what you see, you used cardboard and tape, and that is literally made fun of in the episode itself.
Yeah. So the next episode is called Season Finale Drift Race. And you could sort of see Mater in this. You're not going to see him, because in these episodes, in these podcasts, I just showed the thumbnail, but you could sort of see what Mater's stupid modifications look like here. If you actually want to see it,
it
check out
literally
the
is a
episode.
bunch of weird cardboard taped on top of him.
Yeah, so the finale is fine. Kabuto reveals that Mater's not going to race him. He's actually going to race Superfly, which is kind of a strange cop-out. This is Kabuto wanting revenge, so it is kind of a strange cop-out, but whatever. They race.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of weird cars in the background. Chisaki, Zen Master, some tractors, and Scott Tiller, because why not? And Mater...
Let's just go on the record and say that is not Chisaki who shows up there.
Right, but it is her car.
Just for consistency, because her actual introduction into the series would not make sense if you take this scene into account.
Well, same with Zen Master, so I guess they were just hanging out nearby. They race, and they're inside. I think Snotrod starts sneezing because of the trees or something at one point, right?
No, that's a later plot.
Oh, okay. I knew.
Treesting is relevant like one or two seasons later.
Okay, because I got confused because I could have sworn that was in this episode, and I kind of tuned out while watching this one, so I thought I just forgot it. Okay, that's a later episode. So they race Superfly, and Mater is all like, well, if I win, all you have to be super nice, and you got to move into Radiator Springs. I don't know why he'd want that, because they don't like him, but at the end of the day, Mater does in fact win, and I guess that's how Boost and DJ, who don't get redeemed in this season, end up being friends with them. Although ironically, we never see Kabuto.
I'm pretty sure that I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure it's explained. A little bit of it is explained later on. Like there's like one or two throwaway lines explaining why Kabuto and some of the tuners aren't there anymore, but why Boost and DJ are still there.
Okay.
I think.
Well, we'll have to check.
Not sure if that's
season.
the case, or maybe it's also possible that Boost and DJ were redeemed on their own, but I don't remember that exactly.
Yeah, so the main contribution this season has to the overall series is the four tuners are now nice. And that's where we end it. So I guess, should we move on?
One more thing worth mentioning about this episode is that Mater's modifications start falling off, and later he just rips all of them off to make himself lighter to beat
win.
Superfly at the last second.
That was dumb. Anyway, should we go to the top threes?
Yeah, I've been switching some of them a little bit around on my end, so
Me too. You went first last time, so I'll go first this time. At spot number 3, for my top 3, I have Waiting for Lightning. I thought this one was fine. I thought it was fun, again, just seeing Tyler and Double O just sort of messing around, doing whatever, waiting for Lightning and Mater to get back. I like how cleverly it ties into the last episode, even starting with a scene from the last episode. Once again, I just wish they'd done more with it. I wish I had done more with it.
Yeah, I switched around. I switched this one. Initially, I had a different episode in it, but here now I have episode 12, Tyler in Town, because yeah, we mentioned when we talked about the episodes, it's pretty cool. It's nice. So
yeah,
that's all I have to say.
Yeah. Man, this is tough. But for number 2, I have Tyler in Town for my number 2. This was honestly close to getting number 1. But I just, like I said, this one is more sort of wholesome and sort of has a charm to it. There was just something kind of peaceful seeing him just sort of hanging out, going from townie to townie and just talking with them. I honestly really enjoyed that.
And then thought you said peaceful, and that brings me to mind what later seasons get into. So it's definitely nice to have like a peaceful moment in Cars Adventures.
Yeah.
So for my number 2 spot, I'm gonna go with episode 5, the Giant Tree, because yeah, it pretty much starts out the all of the tuner stuff, because we did get something with the tuner stuff last time with the Piston Cup.
Yeah.
And, I'm not sure if it was this episode or the next episode, but it is said that in one of these episodes that during this episode when they deal with the tuners, Lightning actually got his Piston Cup back, which was stolen the last season.
He stole it back off screen.
So at least you did clean that little bit up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this episode, and Snodgrass Redemption also has definitely to do with the fact that I picked it.
For number 1 for me, I put down Monster Truck Mash. Again, I like that this one is just sort of a full story. It's not the best, but I think it is fun, and the introduction of Extreme is definitely a plus in my opinion, or excitement at the time.
Yeah, I just noticed that I actually put an arrow between the first and second place, so the Giant Tree actually is my favorite from this season.
Oh, okay.
So, that was a mistake on my part. Second place now, and what I first had for first place is not one episode, but actually one plot with episode 14, 15, and 16 pretty much combined, because just like the plot overall, not really these on specific episode basis, but just overall, it's a pretty good plot.
Yeah, that's the Ghostlight plot.
It's pretty much the beginning of the later conflicts throughout the series.
Yeah.
It's not the beginning, but it's the first, along with the 9, 10, and 11, it's pretty much the first open conflict between what will eventually be like the big conflict of Cars Adventures.
Yeah. Alright, so with all that in mind, do you want to go over your final verdict for this season?
Yeah, what I said at the beginning of this podcast, it was boring. I didn't fall asleep, but I skipped through a lot of it because it was just like episodes that were made no sense. Stuff like Racing Days and Kabuto's New Plan come to mind. And I'm sure some of it could have worked. Could have been. Some of them things could have been done a lot better, and some of them should have just been left out. So
yeah. So what I wrote down for this one, the episodes this season are much more focused. Random out of place humor and random cameos are no longer that present, but the dialogue is still really clunky. The plot's alright, although it could have benefited from some backstory for the tuners, seeing a bit of them beforehand. Season seems to run in multi-episode arcs that focus on different topics, and I think it does that much better than Season 1, but not that much better. The new characters are a nice change of pace, I think, but they're ultimately forgettable in the grand scheme of the series, and I think that's how I describe this season. Season 1 you remember, because it's the first, and also because it's so bad. This season you're getting a little better, but it's also just kind of forgettable in general.
It's the only thing it does to actually set up the series is sort of like set up what will eventually be the two different groups within racing, and of course the tuner stuff.
Yeah, but the problem with the tuner stuff is that's also forgettable to the point where I forgot that not all the tuners were redeemed in this season. One last issue I have to address is just a lot of episodes cut off really poorly. I didn't have an outro yet at the time, so a lot of them just have really weird, awkward cutoffs. And some of them just really feel like they should have been continued, like the What If episode or the first commercials episode ends with Mater saying, I used to have a commercial, and then it is never followed up on. We never see that commercial. The episode just ends. The Sarge arc has a weird part where they mention climbing a tree, which was actually an entire canceled episode, and I should have cut that dialogue out when I stopped making that episode, but I didn't. So you have some weird things like that. At the end of the day, I think it's better than Season 1 by a good deal, but it's a lot less memorable. Season 1's memorable for being so bad. Season 2 is just not memorable.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And I think that we're going to come to similar conclusions for the next 2 seasons.
Yeah, we've got a lot of interesting stuff ahead of us. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching Episode 2 of the Cars Adventures Rewatch podcast, and we'll see you guys next time for Season 3. Bye now.